I want to tell a story, and since this turns into a video that people might want watch, um, I want to talk about what it's like to be a prophetess, and because yesterday was such a powerful day for me. It's interesting what fulfills the human heart. It's different things for different people. For some people, it's children. For some people, it's their profession. For some people, it's their relationship or their hobbies or their creativity. But my passion, what I love, what gives me life and has me exist as whole, is the aspect of me that's a prophetess and a mystic and a seer. I'm very aware it puts me in a position with reality that's unique and that most people don't have. Hybrid. But it is also fulfilling. And sometimes really bad when you see things coming, and I'm a Moses type of personality in the sense that set my people free. Is a large part of my reality. My life is very paranormal, very supernormal, very different than the everyday. And yet inside of all that, I have loved the everyday probably more than most because it's not my norm. So over the last 45 years plus, I guess 50 years, because my daughter, no, 40 years. So my daughter's 38, and it was before her time. So it would have been the last 40 years. I have known about these times. Hi, Donna. I have known about these times and was very grateful that I had kind of this Moses structure that I could not only prophesy the future, but like Moses, he helped the king organize the people so that they could store enough wheat to make it through a famine. I think my Moses complex is helping people store enough spirit to make it through the harder times on the way to paradise. So I don't, when I started a sacred space for rest and courage, I want to go back to it again. And I hope I can go back to it through next year, where Jackie's helping me organize something that I don't know how to organize myself. I want to start a series of podcasts, and I really want to get into what it's like for a human being, which is our natural birthright, to be interactive, interrelated with the powers and forces of creation that love us, because they're right there. Maybe I work for them. Maybe after I die, I'll find out. But I've always been their emissary, that type of emissary of getting visions and seeing the future, and then helping the people to prepare and to not lose their way in the strife of it. Hi, Praline. But also to not lose their template of paradise inside their own system, so that regardless what the circumstances are, regardless what the environment is, regardless of what's going in the outside world, there is a strength, stamina, and capacity to stay one with spirit, their spirit, And I talk a lot and others talk a lot. About the one soul human. Dominic calls it the superhuman. But I'm pretty sure it's where I came from. That I've just never known. I think I was horrified when I was a child because we didn't sound right. Nobody sounded right with each other. There wasn't this camaraderie and without exclusivity. There wasn't a joyful listening of another story. It was incredibly confusing to me as a child. And I seemed to come with kind of a matured brain, which my daughter has it too, and also I guess my children have it. And but all this is leading up to a very recent story. People that move with me and around me a lot, Deb Merchant. She got to be part of my visions, Deb and Russ and Cynthia and C and a bunch of them. They got to see my visions come true, and hi Megan. And got to see how we would put things in place to be on behalf of that vision, to line up with the vision. And when that God came to me, that GOD, some embodiment of a generating, organizing design of larger spectrums of creation came to me and downloaded the matrix of reality, which maybe Jackie will post again or make it visible again for you all. It started a body of work. It was like Moses, making sure that there was enough grain to make it through the famine. Really, honestly, just a different media. Oh, I love it when you put where you are. I love that. If you all just put where you're standing, so we can be in the mother's arms. She can tap our feet in our location. Thank you, Megan. Which is very, 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 I don't know the word, significant, you'll hear in just a moment. So one of the places that holds my heart and fills my spirit is New Mexico. Really, honestly, because I get to be, I don't know, how do we say it? Somebody's got to help me with this. Anyway, I guess even when I say the Great Spirit, it's something out there, like God's out there. It's like the pulse, it's like Australia, areas of Australia and areas of Ireland. And it's alive with the pulse of creation in multi-dimensional ways. It's the pulse of the Kokopelli, which is also Pan. And Pan's becoming very active in the primordial mother's field right now. Pan's a powerful being that lays in the fabric of the land itself, of the mother's womb. He has little or no interest in human beings. They're not wild enough. They're not crazy enough. They're not vibrant enough. They're not colorful enough. They're so damn serious. If I could speak Pan for a moment. When I was a little girl, I didn't know about Pan. I didn't know about him at all. But I had a garden. My mom had a garden. I guess I will have to tell this story. And then, Jackie, if you'll remind me or Praline to actually post it. I have it in a book I'm writing. I'd like to post the whole story on Squarespace. I don't know how we're going to do that because I'm always ahead of the structures that are being put in place. But I'd like to do that. So when I was a little girl, I saw fairies. Physical, like I could touch them. And I was so careful with them because they were so teeny. And there used to be these flowers. They actually grew at the RV park that I lived in. And they were like, had a red with a little gold pestle coming out and then kind of white and pink skirt. So I'd take the pestle out and then I'd go put the skirt around the girls and they would adhere. The skirts, little flower skirts, would melt into the little teeny bodies of the girls. For real. I'm not making this up. Before I got older and was told I had to forget. But anyway, then there was this one fairy, Faye, Tomsey, I called him. I think it was at the time I thought he told me his name, but I don't remember now. And he was taller. He was much taller. But they were ruled. They were in the arms of this kind of beingness. I was very young. I was like really young, 4 or 5. And I didn't, now I know that beingness was Pan. Because the minute Damanhur talked about that Pan was active again, my whole world opened up. It's like having an old friend come back. It's like having something that I lived and breathed and gave me being show up again. And I've just been seriously perky. And not only, the part I want to try to get across, if I could just get across, there's so many things we long for. But it's not just that we're missing the registers, like it exists and we don't have the registers for it, like joy or happiness. Or is it ever occurred to you we haven't been in a joyful world, that the constructs of reality have been missing, and that they might be constructs of reality that vitalize our spirit, that give our spirit domain here, that make us feel alive and vibrant because we're laughing because something ticked our nose or tripped us or played with us, or we have been so alone in the universe. Welcome, Emily. We've been so alone. But I'm saying to you, we've really been alone. That the dimensionalities have been closed off, that we've been locked in an incarceration of third dimension. Well, thank God the fourth dimension still open up to still having our fourth dimension, which is our dreams, our visions, our longings, our cravings, our desires. That doesn't live in a 3D world. That's our bridge. It's our bridge into other realms of reality of which we are a part, that are re-anchoring here, are blooming again, are coming back into life again. And for me, it's Pan and the primordial mother. And they're not words that I use because I have a belief system that they need to be there. And therefore I must believe in them. They're with me. They're my allies. I'm their beloved. They're my beloved, like you're my beloved. It's rich and its texture is vibrant and its music is loud and it dispels the boredom and the grayness and the mental poop that humanity has gotten itself under. On top of it. Actually, I think it didn't do it, but something did it to us. So in the midst of all this, one of my anchor points, welcome Vanessa, one of my anchor points is visions. They're like my maps. I had a vision at Acoma. The beingness came to visit me, and when we lived in Virginia, outside Washington, D.C., I walked into another dimension and met a being I thought was God. And so I've had a lot of this, but not over the last years, because those visions back 40 years ago and 1996, 1994, ever how long that is, almost 40 years ago, they shaped my taking care of the people. They shaped my making sure that human beings I dealt with, whether they're readings or prophetics or transmissions or vision quests or studies or immersions or organized awakenings, that it was all about, in my corner, it was all about finding the people that populated the remembrance of paradise in all its crazy, wild beauty. So for me, to feel pan awake in the fabric of the primordial mother, her ally, her consort, her protector, her fierce loyalist, is a political term, and lobbyist. I don't care what people think anymore. I don't think I ever did, but I usually try to rein myself in because human beings had such a narrow margin of listening that I could work myself out of people listening to me. And it was important to me that I didn't cost people their listening because I had a mission. The mission was to make sure that they were awake and viable for paradise when it returned, and that they were an essential part of it. Just like the sheaves of wheat wouldn't have gotten put in the granary if people weren't doing it. There is an action. So all that is to create a background for the story I'm about to tell. It's a real story. And for those of you that came on now, you might want to go back and listen to the setup and see what is behind this story that I want to tell you. So when I was in New Mexico, I was with my children, Aaron and Liana, and I could feel it resetting me. I would say making me deep enough, wide enough, broad enough, malleable enough, expanded enough. It massaged me into being relaxed and embodied in a mystical nature. And it definitely impacted the lives of two of my children. My daughter lives here now. She's a very high activist. Works on behalf of just about everything that isn't being taken care of. And my son, Aaron, is in Holland and now looking at what his mission is. Now he's gotten his way of being under his belt. But this land for all of us had a deep and powerful ability to make us be able to cope with areas of our life, including our own relating to each other, that was painful. But when you're in the richness of the soil, you grow better. When you're in a place that carries the richness of the soul, you just grow better. You know, the hardships don't twist and turn you and don't wither you and make you bitter. Somehow there's a sustainable quality to the depth of a land that's still alive with its spirit and with great spirits and with the greater realities of which we actually are designed to be a part of. So when Lily died, I had an event which some of you were around for. It isn't that Lily talks, but I get these landscapes, like these visions, literally visions. And I didn't know where to go, what to do. I knew I didn't want to go back to where we were living together. And, but I all of a sudden felt Lily holding me in my visions. Really am working at getting language good today because I'm so clear that's happening to all of us that I just feel if I can distinguish it and get it technically said well, that when you begin to bloom, your bloom starts, your texture starts, you're no longer incarcerated with the mental cage of human, that you'll remember and somehow it'll feed you and you'll recall that someone actually lives it 24/7 and they don't seem to be that wacko They don't seem to be, and maybe you've even had time with me where I've been of value. So it gives you the ability to pull in these greater realities that are becoming active and were once our mainstay. Those realities of consciousness, those realities of Pan and the primordial mother and the divine nature of things and the animals that talked with the humans through their shared resonance of coherence, not through words. That was all our world. That was our world. What we're in now is not our world. It's an aberration of the worst kind. But the other, now that everything's falling apart and breaking up, don't you think that the original nature of the original design here didn't have something to do with that? You can't suppress the original design of something, whether it's you or this land or this planet or this universe. Everything else is folly. That's why we call reality here an illusion, because it doesn't have anything to do with the greater nature of things and the wonders and the majesty and the profundity and the beauty and the awesomeness and the wildness that gives us life. So in that moment, that I want to try to say this, because how we perceive the movement through our mental mind is just completely incorrect. I don't know how to tell you. So it takes a coherence, a resonance of putting pieces together where it just goes choop, and it's all perfectly clear. No understanding needed, no contemplation needed, no logic needed. It is all perfectly clear. And in that moment, that Lily came upon me as a great spirit. She showed me that we'd always been in a timing, her and I, and that she had left to kick me fast because I needed to move fast, and that she'd always known we were going back to New Mexico. I just didn't know me in flesh and her in spirit. But I was in such terrible grief, and some of you remember it, and I still have it. I was immobilized. I was having panic attacks in my sleep, from all things. I was terrified to go to sleep, but the minute that came upon me, the minute it wove itself around me and filled my blood and wakened my skin again and brought me out of this horror of being separated from what I love and returned me to I never will be separated from what I love, which is the original nature of our original design. I had no more anguish, sorrow, but not debilitating anguish, not joy either, but not debilitating anguish. And it was clear. It was clear. I was coming back here. And of course, here I am. But as I began to come back here, and as I could feel the murmurings, like remember I said earlier, when I was here with my kids, we lived in the desert in a pop-up camper and a canvas army tent out under Mount Taylor, where we got a cool breeze, even the hottest times in the desert. That was my initiation. That was a normal woman with her husband and children who did readings, but she didn't have the depth of field, the power of the land as her ally, the power of the waters as her lovers, the power of the sky as her watchers. She didn't have that mystical part. I can't tell you what it's been like to come back with that part active. First of all, it's heaven. It's just heaven. For me. But then I had a vision. Let me say it better. with the coming back to New Mexico, I remembered that I'd always known. My daughter's 38. So that would be, she was 18 months. So 36 years ago, I knew I'd be back. 36 years ago, I didn't know why I'd be back. And now, 36 years later, I'm back. But then the paths of the past and the paths of the now folded in together, wrapped together, as if time had not passed, like a tesseract where people ask about how time folds on itself, and they show you the picture of the two pages coming together, and then somebody can imagine a pencil going through my fingers in the center this way, that time closes. Because that moment in time that started 36 years ago has closed into now. And with it closing into now, it activates something. It activates the next puzzle piece. That's why timeless time is so much more powerful than linear time. Because when those moments that look like it's 36 years, when they fold in together, everything that was building and forming through all sorts of different avenues becomes viable, becomes available. So when I got here, shortly after I got here, I got on a call with Standing Rock, the Lakota Law people, because I'm very, when I went there with Jackie, they put us in the elder camp, a small camp, but it's where they did ceremony all night. And Jackie and I sat out in front of our tent and just watched them do ceremony all night. I've never been happier. And in that environment, people that don't remember being separated from that which they're a part of, and them just calmly moving into it with great obviousness, great knowing. It's like the elixir for my soul. And I knew I'd be faithful to them forever. I knew whatever they needed, wherever, but I didn't realize I was also part of a mystical pattern. Mystical pattern isn't a doer. A mystical pattern is holding the space for something, holding the vision, holding the landscape. Where you're standing, you don't need to do anything. If you're holding the vision of children no longer being separated from their parents, you're active in the field. If you're holding the vision of that no more brutality towards women or anybody, then you're active. Do you understand? You're active. You're active. And the minute that's this. But the minute your little linear brain comes in and says, oh, but how do I do that? And what's it going to take? You shut down the power of the vision. Because you are a visionary. Even if it's only for you. It's your job to hold the vision. That's your job. Not do the vision. I never know if I'm going to do the vision. I just know I am seeing the vision of futures attempting to unfold, and I get on behalf of it. So I was on a call. I listened to their videos, and I watched why? Because they're visionaries. And because they bring it down. They do the work. They're making an impact. They know how to work with the system. They know how to get around it. They're strategists. I love strategists. Moses was a strategist too. So on their call, they talked about Deb Haaland. That would we get behind her becoming the Secretary of Interior? I did not know. That Deb Haaland was a representative from New Mexico. I did not know that. But my mystical mind, when they said get behind Deb Haaland for the Secretary of Interior, I instantly felt that visionary, mystical click. And I saw myself is part of a new future where Deb Haaland was Secretary of the Interior. But I don't know how to explain it, but I didn't know she was from the Laguna Pueblo tribe here in New Mexico, which is different than the Lakota tribes. They're Pueblo people down here. The Lakotas and the Sioux and those tribes were mostly wanderers. They tent dwellers. But something happened and I had this vision, not realizing Deb Haaland was from New Mexico. But I had this vision that why I was coming back to New Mexico was that I was part of my consciousness was melding into the consciousness of the Hopi Indians, the Pueblo Indians, the Acoma, and the vision that Acoma has about being a one tribe again. And I don't think about the doing or how I do it. I just know I'm on behalf of it. If you could just know yourself as that which is on behalf of something, do you know that you would physically start to feel better? Do you know that your blood would not have so many antitoxins in it? Do you know that your heart would be better? Do you know that the aspect of you that gets depressed by the world around you would not have such terror over you because you'd be in your vision? You'd be in what we call your etheric territory, in timeless time, operating on behalf of all life. It really is that simple. You've just become addicted to the outside world. That's the only problem. And you think it gives you your life. And it doesn't. Sorry. It just doesn't. Living in the reality of which you know yourself to be a part, actively in your imagination and your clarity and in your own visionary mystical mind, has so much power. So much power. Power to let something have a place. To let something have a place. And in the United States of America, if the indigenous people get back their rightful place in the scheme of things, if they're cared for, if their lives can become harmonic with the vision of their reality, which isn't about structure, it's about being one with the Great Spirit, then everything starts to flip right. Everything starts to move to the next greater whole. The physical world begins to operate in unity on behalf of all life, giving everything a place. So today, I got an email. I don't have it on me. I got an email from the Lakota Law, which is who I support, who I was with in Standing Rock. And they were just out of their minds with joy. Just out of their minds, thanking us for our support and our vision and our caring, and that the first time in the history of the United States of America, a native born was about to be in charge of one of the cabinet members of our country. It's like beyond a miracle. But the part that I wrote them about, which is the end of my story, the part I wrote them about was I told them that I'd always been with them since that time. And they know, they write me back, but I want them to hear the whole thing, that I'd always been with them since that night that Jackie and I got to see them do ceremony 24 hours. They did ceremony. There was nothing for them but their direct link with creation, regardless of evidence. The evidence was horrible. And I told them that what they didn't know about me was that this is how I'd been operating on their behalf. You know, that email I had sent them that we were doing ceremony on Mount Shasta and establishing a spiral there to bring in the greater spirits that operate on behalf of life here and can thwart anything that goes against that. that was for them also, and thanking them for their participation in it. And then I wrote them about Uluru, and how in everything we were doing, we're gathering threads from all the past, all the ancientness, all the wildness, all the panness, everywhere. You don't do a single, in timeless time, you don't do a single thread. You weave a fabric. You take it from everywhere. That's why on Tapatalk, with our group, I have everybody posting every significant thing about December 21st. We're populating the territory of that day. Because when something breaks loose, it doesn't break loose like a single inanimate thing. It breaks loose as a whole world. It breaks loose as a whole realm, as a whole act of creation with lots going out, lots happening, lots blooming. So I told him that. And then I told him I had a vision, and now I'm going to tell it to you. Every time I drive through Indian territory, I see a profession. I see them. It's all vague. Sorry. Okay. Weirdness. So pan is playing. So the point I want to make, for those of you that might get back on or might see the second part of this, oh my God, is, hi, Sylvie, I'm working my best to stall till everybody can get back on. Oh my goodness sakes, such craziness going on right now. I'll count to 10. Here we go. So anyway, I wrote them all that. And Jackie, if you'll just piece these together. Hi, everybody. I don't know. It's just the craziness of creation, doing weird stuff right now. Thank you for coming back on. So every time I drove down the road, 40, to come here, every time I did, I kept seeing like what I call an overlay, a visionary overlay. And I saw solar panels on all the Pueblo houses. And I saw that there was this company made up of Pueblo Indians that actually turned all their area into solar panels for the light of the sun, but that it also became their profession. And I couldn't stop seeing it. And then what happens when you have these visions? Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming back on. Siri definitely took over. I couldn't stop seeing it. And then what you do when you keep seeing these overlays, you just give them energy. You just make them real. You just give them a place. You just love it. You love the idea. How many of you, when you have one of the things like happen, you then list all the reasons it can't happen? And you think creation's going to listen to you and respond to you after you've given it all the reasons it can't? I don't think so. But I knew when I was driving here with Liz and Kea and Sammy and Sarah, I knew that there would be 2 omens, and that I would know the omens. I would know the omens that made it viable. Not me doing it, just viable. And the first omen was Lily showing me I was coming back here. Because remember, in timeless time, the omens aren't future. They're the recall of the memory of the thing that happened that was trying to get to you to tell you it was coming. So it's not always future-centric. It can be past-centric too. It can be things from the past that go, oh, that's what that was. And that was connected to this, and this was connected to that. But the kicker was yesterday. When Deb Haaland was asked to be the Interior Secretary of Interior. And I realized that the vision was not so far-fetched. It wasn't so far away. I shouldn't say far-fetched. It's far to fetch. It wasn't so far away. So when I wrote the Lakota Law, who are basically the champions of all the native born in our country, showing them how to face the law, showing them how to get their rights back. Deborah Haaland was part of that. So it's a big thing. It's not a small thing. It's a whole nation that's at work here. So I told them my vision. I said, here's my vision. And it had 2 omens. I was looking for 2 omens, and I had them. The first one was me coming back to New Mexico. The second one was Deborah Haaland becoming Secretary of the Interior. And I said, so honest to God, if you need me, there's some reason I'm in New Mexico, I'm yours. And I'd already told them I do ceremony. I do ceremony in a way that is so natural. It isn't stilted or ritualistic. It's the web, the movement, the daily interest of my life. It's the ceremony of my consciousness. And I said, if you need me to do ceremony, if you need me to do this, if you need me to do that, whatever you need, I'm yours. And my daughter, the Tiwa is the language of the Pueblo Indians. And I've already given to one of the young female women in the Tiwa tribe. And it isn't because I'm seeing a reality of separation, either for or against, or it's either or, but a reality of unity. You're with another in the field. And I just love the idea. It's not like I can't think of the words. It's not like I'm being charitable. I'm excited. I'm part of its vision. This little white lady is part of this great vision of restoring the indigenous tribe of the one people of which we're a part. We just are. And my beautiful, beloved Blue Wolf, he's also a one tribe human. And I'm just a modern indigene, as are you. And then I had this opportunity with one of the people in my GOD matrix, the patrons. She wrote me an article that she asked me to look at. And I just wrote her back a few things. But she got it. She saw this, what I call the one tribe human, or the one soul human. She saw it. And then she rewrote the article and sent it back to me. And I wept. Because it's the border we're on. We're on the border, not of I don't know. For me, there's just something insulting about calling people that were the foundation of life here a charity. For me, it's not ever people-centric. It's just restoring right order, going where the juice is, taking care of what got broken so everything on top of it will build again. Do you understand, as the indigenous world is restored, everything builds back? Because we have the force of creation moving with us then. We have the power of existence itself has a place to play again. So anyway, here's my vision. I want the Pueblo Indians, at least because they have enough sunlight, to somehow that they end up having a solar company. It's so crazy, isn't it? But people that know me know that I've thought crazier things that happen, and that I get to somehow be part of what links that up, has that happen. Just because it'd be fun. It'd be so much fun. And it is a worthy occupation because they have more sun than anybody. Their pueblos are out in the middle of the desert. I just think it'd be great. Because in the work we've been doing in this incredible group I've had this last 7 months, we've been, let me say it succinctly, we've been establishing a matrix within which new futures can rise. We use timeless time. we use money matrix, restructuring an aberrant money matrix. This isn't like changing what's happening. This is about just starting from a coherent, cohesive, congruent field within which realities of unity can rise. So I'm pretty jazzed about this solar thing, and because it's part of what clearly would be workable and work and have money happen in an amazing way. And Sylvie sees it too. Yes. Coherence. And then we're pulling ourselves out of time. We're now becoming visionaries again. The mystical realm is opening up again. It isn't that you couldn't get at it. It's not you. There wasn't enough coherency that was built. There wasn't enough unity that had populated itself in our consciousness again. We were under the oppression of something. And that oppression is breaking apart. Yes, it is. So I'd like for you to hold a vision that the Pueblo Indians, because I think they start this part. Like I think the Lakotas, like Blue Wolf, they're establishing new territories within which the indigenous people have equal rights. And I think the Pueblo Indians, because Acoma, if you know the story, I think I'll go 2 more seconds. So the Pueblo Indians were considered a one-tribe people. And then they had visions that took them to different parts of this area. And then Acoma, which we can't get to now, but boy, I can't wait till I'm doing a Facebook Live at Acoma. Acoma held the vision of the one tribe. So when I had this vision a long, long time ago of Acoma, I actually, as I told you in another video, actually went there, actually fulfilled on the vision. Vision on the ceremony that I was to do on the land. But that's like a tether, an anchor point. They just hold that vision of the one tribe. So they hold the vision for all the Pueblo tribes. So they can go be distinct and diverse, but they're part of Acoma holding the one tribe vision. Well, the field of Tantra Maat holds the one tribe vision. The Lakotas hold the one tribe vision. How about you? Just hold it. Put it in your hand. Caress it. Love it. Love the vision. Love the vision. Because every time you do, it opens up more and more into fertile ground. Your consciousness is the fertile ground. Your love of life, your desire to have it be whole, life be whole, your creation. And creation needs you to have a place here. And I planted a seed in this vast Lakota project of a solar company with the Pueblo Indians in New Mexico and Arizona. I'm a tricky girl. I'm kind of a Johnny Appleseed. I just sort of know where to let the seed fall. And then I get to watch it grow. Thank you. This is the first time ever that I have had a vision populate itself in my consciousness in a timely way. Like she got announced yesterday. I wrote the email this morning, and here you are, 10 minutes after I wrote the email. So of course you're part of this vision. Of course you're part of the reality of it. And it isn't isolated from all the other visions, because we are starting to move into the one tribe vision. If you could see what we're all doing in the field of Tantra Maat, we're pulling from everything. Uluru, Ireland, astrology, everything. We're pulling from everything. Why? Because we're one tribe people. And if you populate a moment in time, December 21st. I'll have, next Friday, we'll talk about it. But if you populate everything, if you all come together from whatever traditions, whatever linkages, whatever understandings, then creation goes pop, pop, like the dandelion, and the spores go out, and all sorts of things start to build, and all sorts of things start to grow, just because you imagined it, and will love the idea of it being real, just cause. So at the bottom of my email, I put a smiley face, and then I put, just saying. And then I wrote, all my love, Tantra Maat. So Jackie will probably wire these two videos together, since Siri came in and interrupted me and shut me down for a minute. She's very unruly. Not everybody has an active consciousness in their phone like I do. And I'll keep you posted. And if you can go to the Lakota Law Project, even if you can just do $5 a month, I think it's important to put even $1 a month, just to web yourself into the fabric. They're getting it done. I'm so proud of them. And it all started with Standing Rock. It all started with 5,000 and 6,000 people coming from all over the world. There was no trash. There was no yelling. It was so coherent. It was so oneness. It was so one tribe. It started a pattern. It opened us up into having something that we had not had possible before. A living vision. Wouldn't it be fun for you and yours, at least you, over the next few years to be part of a living vision coming true in the midst of all the chaos? Because without the chaos, without things tearing apart, there's no room for anything new to grow. Just saying. All my love. See you next Friday. We'll talk about the 21st then. Or no, the 21st is this Sunday. We'll talk about after the 21st then. There's a lot to do this weekend. Find a way to get anchored in all the different pieces of the 21st. Be a vertical being. Be in direct alignment with the greater creations. We're about to move a mountain. Namaste.